Tell us a little bit about your mandolin. It looks like a well-crafted instrument. Where did you get it, and what's it made out of and stuff?
So this instrument here is actually on loan to me from the school. They have several different instruments you can rent, and my teacher suggested to me to take this one out on loan, and it's actually cool. It's actually free. You can rent it from the school and you just pay insurance, which is like 50 euros a year. So it's a pretty cool opportunity to play this instrument because it's pretty special. The style of it is, I mean, it's made by who's considered the best mandolin player in the world. His name is Alfred Bohl, and my teacher plays on his instruments. All the professionals play on his instruments. So I think my teacher thought it would be the best thing to be on the most optimal instrument. I had one a similar style before, but it was made by a different luthier, and obviously the sound varies on each luthier that built it. But this instrument here is made out of maple wood, pretty much all the way around. The top is maple, back is all maple. Here we have, I believe, some mahogany, but there are usually two kinds for this German style that Alfred Bohl makes. He makes a maple body one, and then he also makes a rosewood. And I've tried both out, and I think I definitely prefer the rosewood because the maple has a very beautiful sound, a rich, dark sound, but the rosewood just brings out a little bit more of those darker hues that this one doesn't as much. This one's a little louder than the rosewood one. But both are very beautiful instruments, and I'm excited to be able to have the opportunity to play on them. And actually, this luthier has a 10-year waiting list for his instruments. And my teacher was able to get me on the list, and he's actually closing it, I believe, but she was able to get me on right before. So I don't know how long I have to wait. I don't get updates. He hasn't updated me yet, but hopefully I'll be able to actually have my own one day. Yeah.
Hopefully by the time you graduate. Well, do you do any jazz studies there?
That's
top class.
I do. My professor's husband.
Come on, loose man.
Getting upset.
Sorry. So my professor's husband is actually an American bluegrass mandolinist. His name's Mike Marshall. And so in my first semester, he was actually offering a class where we would play bluegrass and country folk tunes from America. So I really enjoyed playing those pieces, and unfortunately, they replaced him at the university because he was getting too old. But he was only like late 60s, so.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I was a little upset about that. But yeah, it's cool to have that style because that's pretty much the one style missing. You know, what we're studying here at school, we're studying Baroque music all the way up until modern styles that are written, last 10 years, 15 years. So we just don't have that American flair. And I think it's a very important one to have. So I'm hoping in the next semester to be able to at least have some kind of private lessons with Mike, just because I want to have that skill also in my toolbox that maybe doesn't get as much work because I'm focusing on these other classical styles.
Well, tell us about this piece of music that you have here.
Yeah. You want me to talk about all of them, or just this one to start?
Let's start with this one, the one that you're going to play right now.
Okay, so this piece right here, it's called La Fustenberg. La Fustenberg, going into the name. It's a piece written by an Italian composer. His name is Antonio Ruggieri, and I think he originally was from Naples, Italy, and he moved to Paris. At the time, this would be the mid-1700s. And Paris, at that time, was seen as kind of the center for the mandolin, for actually a lot of other instruments, a real cultural center. And so he was a professor in Paris, and he also wrote a mandolin method, which is still used to this day for the classical mandolin. And so this piece, La Fustenberg, is relatively simple melody. It's based off of a relatively simple couple lines of melody, and then the next portion, each portion is a variation on that melody, and there are a total of 10 variations, and so he pretty much utilizes different rhythms, different techniques, mandolin techniques, to make it just kind of shows the breadth of how far you can take just a simple melody and make it into an entire piece, a massive piece of music that really showcases the entire mandolin technique.
Sounds like jazz to me. Okay, well, take it away.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
You said you guys learned some music history. Can you hear me? You can hear me. Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, man, put on some music. All right, so. Where am I?
Straight on. Yeah,
Oh, hold down. So you mentioned that you study music history. And so my question is, how far back do you go? And do you even get into, say, the liturgy type of music that was so prevalent at some point in history? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Should I, Micah?
That's all right, I got
Okay, we got it. So we definitely do actually cover music that was used in the liturgy. Chant music is what we've covered in our music history classes, and I find that interesting. They'll usually play us samples from these old hymns. I think this would be from the Baroque period, so in the 1600s. But that's pretty much as far back as we go, I'd say, around the 1600s. But totally, they do. You know, it's interesting because Europe has so many beautiful, like they have such a rich history of the faith. To me, it feels like they've gotten a little, I don't know, almost numb to it, because, you know, we'll clearly study, we'll study these pieces, we'll listen to them, but I don't feel like there's a deeper connection there to the actual faith anymore. Like, it's just the music of the past almost. So, which is a shame, but we definitely do cover it, I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay, enough delay. Okay, let's play.
Okay, not so fast. We're not done yet. Okay, I got a couple questions for you. How many chord progressions were in this? I counted like 4 main chords or so, then you do variations around those chords, basically.
Yeah, the melody is just based on chords.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say maybe a couple chord progressions, so maybe 2 to 3. And then the variations are just moving notes within those progressions within that scale. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, it really shows how much you can do with just a simple melody. Right.
It's simple, but in a lot of ways it gets more and more complex. That last variation is pretty cool. It kind of shows the range of the instrument, and you do a really nice job of displaying that. So I'd like to know, though, this was a piece that you could kind of close your eyes and just sort of let your mind imagine all kinds of scenes from back in the old countryside, and I could sort of see a lot like an old maybe a mule-drawn wagon full of grapes that had just been harvested. They're all headed back to the place to be crushed.
Yeah.
There's all the people with their red and their, grape-stained feet.
Yeah,
I mean, but there's a spiritual element to it as well, and I'm just curious how your faith is has integrated into your study. What drives you with all this? Obviously, you've got a God-given talent here. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say music has always kind of touched me in a special way, even when I'm just listening to it. I feel just closer to God and to just, I don't know, it really relaxes me and gives me peace
throughout my studies. I would say I don't always want to practice as 4 hours a day. It can get challenging, but you offer up those moments, and over time it builds. I think it builds your skill, but also it's the same with virtue, right? It's a constantly growing thing. I think that a parallel I've thought about is that every piece is not finished. You're never done with a certain piece. My professor has always said, it takes a lifetime to build out the styles in a piece. You're never finished with the fine-tuning of the details. And so I think that parallels really our lives in a way, because we're always chasing yet. We're never finished until we're out of this earth, until we're gone. So we're always chasing that, just continuing to build our virtue. And so for me, that's helped me think about my life, and thinking about my life in that way has really helped me get through some challenges, just dealing with new pieces, dealing with a new environment. So overall, it's really just given me peace about being in Germany and working hard in school.
Kind of a metaphor for life.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Well, what about what else do you have there?
This right here is the next week's we got.
Oh man,
It's a little smaller.
yeah. Well, you got young eyes, so you can see.
Yeah,
all this,
It's a 5-page piece.
You probably have this memorized by now, right?
I pretty much have this one memorized.
Right.
I kind of use it as a guide.
Yeah. What's this one called?
So this one is called Prelude Number 12, and it's written by Raffaele Colace, who was probably the most well-known mandolin composer, for classical mandolin. He's just written so many pieces for mandolin orchestra, chamber music, duets, that he's just considered the most influential mandolin composer in the world. And so he lived in the late 1800s to early 1900s, and this piece, Prelude Number 12, is from a series of 12 preludes that he wrote for solo mandolin. And so this is the last one, and these preludes cover a wide range of Italian Romantic style, which I think is, when people think of the classical mandolin, you probably think of this style because it's just so popular throughout Europe and even the world. The tremolo, the slides, the kind of opera style. So you definitely hear all those elements, and it's one of my favorite pieces to play. So this is Prelude Number 12.
you guys, but the mandolin seems to conjure up certain images of ancient times, I guess, ancient, maybe back in the time of cutting out. Okay,
Cutting up there.
I think we have a mic here, but it's a little help. But, one question that comes up is, why doesn't this mic work? Okay, so the other question is, what do you do?
Let's try this.
Yeah, okay. Good idea. How's that? Oh, yeah. What plans do you have, or, at the risk of sounding ridiculous in the eyes of God, we make all of our plans and then, He ends up changing them anyways. But what would you like to have happen after you graduate?
I would say so. I think for most people sitting at the university, they're looking to get a professorship. And in Germany, how it works is that you get the spot at the university, and it's a lifetime decision. So you're comfortable there, and you don't really have to worry about changing jobs or anything. To me, that kind of, I feel like I would get too antsy for that almost. Like I want to be. I think I really enjoy performing, and I see that playing a role in my future for sure. Like I really want to perform wherever I can. I think when I graduate, I also want to start my own studio. Right now, I'm a little on the fence about how much teaching I want to do. I'm not sure if I see myself as a teacher. Of course, that could change over the next 2 years, but as a mandolinist, I probably will have to do some teaching because most musicians have to. So I think I could see myself really starting my own studio for private lessons because that's what my former teacher did. And I think it's a really cool way to kind of, you get to build your own curriculum, you get to decide what you're going to teach. And that seems more exciting than just a professorship position at a university in Germany for life. So those are my plans for right now. I also have some aspirations to maybe start my own business because, of course, I did the woodwork. I've been doing woodworking for so long, and I'm not sure that will play in the future as well. But as of now, that's kind of where my head's at. Of course, yeah, I really don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 years. My ideas could totally change, but as of now, that's what I'm thinking.
That's really cool. There might be a need for a new mandolin builder of sorts.
That's awesome. That's
Knows
bringing
how
the two
to-
together, really.
Great. Well, and of course you probably have a YouTube channel coming up sometime in the future. Right?
Yeah, I'm building it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in the works for the last 6 to 12 months, and but I'm really looking to, when I get back for the fall semester, to really get it into full gear now that I don't know, I just feel a little bit more comfortable with the repertoire I have. I mean, I had this big exam. Halfway through your studies, you have this midterm concert where you have to play in front of professors, and so that kind of, I feel like the last couple of months, that kind of really pushed me to push myself to a whole new level. And so, yeah, I think I'm definitely hoping to record some pieces so that you guys can all see it. Of course, the whole world can see it.
Oh, what else you got here? I think we have time for one more piece.
One more? Okay.
I'll follow up with a couple of questions after that. Tell us about what you got.
So this last piece is written by my former teacher, Chris Acovella, and I was his student since I was 11 up until I graduated. So we spent a lot of time together. And the thing about Chris is he's a really prolific composer. There's not a lot of composer pieces being written for the classical mandolin but he is one of the composers that's really pushing just the technique, the style. He's bringing elements from, I think, his own upbringing. He started off as kind of a more rock musician and with guitar, and then transferred over to the mandolin. So he's kind of brought elements to the mandolin repertoire that beforehand weren't really there. And so this piece is called 2014, and it's named that because that was the year that my teacher moved to Germany. He's originally from San Diego, but his wife is from Germany. And in 2014, they moved all the way to Mainz, Germany, and he actually still lives there today. And so for him, I think this piece was kind of encapsulates all the different emotions you feel when you're moving to a new country. There's new excitement. There's also just culture shock. So I think I can relate to a lot of the elements here. It's kind of a journey of sorts, I think, for him. And I can obviously relate to pretty much all those things because I moved from San Diego all the way to Germany. So yeah, this is 2014.
That chase scene from the, I don't know, some cop show.
That was awesome.
Special effect. Well, one last question. I understand you have a pretty aggressive schedule coming up, and a lot of performances, and then when you get back, a couple of performances as we're training. Can you tell us a little bit about those? Are they school?
Oh yeah, sorry. So when I get back, I get back to Germany at the end of September, and right when I get back, we have an orchestra concert. I believe it's the 5th or 6th of October. So that's just with my school orchestra, our school luxury orchestra. And so I will be playing with them. I think we're just playing at the school. We have a little concert hall there, so that should be nice. And then I also later October, on the 20th, I'm participating in a competition for the mandolin, which happens they host it every 4 years. And so I'm lucky to be studying it at a time when they're doing it. So it's going to be in a place called Schweinfurt in Germany, and pretty much going to be competing against pretty much my classmates because the community isn't that big, but I'm sure there'll be some other people. But I'm really excited. I'll be playing actually all this repertoire and more at the competition. So it's something that we've been preparing for over a year. Been preparing with my professors using the pieces. So that's something I'm very looking forward to just, I don't know, it'll be my first competition, so I'm excited for it.
Is there a cash award for that if you win?
Yes.
Yeah.
10 grand if you get first place.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Well, no, it's been a real pleasure, and I would say that your studies are paying off. What do you guys think?
Yes.
Well, thanks for being here, and we wish you Godspeed in all that you undertake, and pray that His graces will remain on you and propel you forward in whatever undertakings that He has in mind for you. So, would you like to take us out with some little short variation of some sorts?
Yeah, well, my dad asked me if I could play Stairway to Heaven for you guys. I think that's fair, given it's a song we all know. So.